everyone. I just want to apologize first off because I wanted to post a follow-up to my Vasilevsky video on Thursday when he shocked the world. I unfortunately got a little under the weather, so I missed a lot of good action in the NHL this weekend. But we had some fun stuff today. So the Philadelphia Flyers finally fired head coach Dave Hakstol after weeks, maybe even months of speculation. The decision was made by new general manager Chuck Fletcher. Now, instead of hiring someone on a permanent basis, they decided to bring up Lehigh Valley Phantoms head coach Scott Gordon on an interim basis. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of Scott Gordon. I think he has an awful track record in the NHL. Granted, he had a dismal Islanders team, and then he was part of the whole Toronto Ron Wilson debacle a few years back, but his AHL track record is really good. So I'm interested to see what he does in Philadelphia. This is a team that's just in shambles from top to bottom, and as I've said before, as long as Paul Holmgren is still involved with the organization, which he is as president of the Flyers, they're going to have problems. And, you know, that tension between him and Ron Hextall is what got Ron Hextall fired, because Ron Hextall wanted to go in one direction and Holmgren wanted to go in another. So, to be quite honest, I don't think Chuck Fletcher will go in the direction Holmgren wants. I just think about his time with Minnesota as their general manager, and I think about his time in Pittsburgh as the assistant general manager, and that's just not the way he operates. He's not going to want the typical Broad Street Bullies hockey that Paul Holmgren's a fan of. He's going to want to, you know, go with the modern times. So, and I apologize, my cat is meowing in the background here. But in all seriousness, Chuck Fletcher said earlier today that pretty much anyone's a candidate, and, you know, the search will be long. So, of course, everyone went on Twitter and said, oh, I need to update my resume. But it's, of course, not how it's going to work. But the Flyers tend to go a little out of the box with their hires, and I expect them to do the same. I don't expect them to, first off, keep Scott Gordon on a permanent basis, because like I said, his track record is not very good in the NHL. And secondly, it's just, they need someone with a long-term future. And I think Scott Gordon's actually done a great job with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, but that doesn't mean that it'll necessarily translate to the NHL. So with that in mind, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Philadelphia. I am actually going to be at the Flyers Blue Jackets game in Philadelphia on Saturday. And the Flyers just called up Carter Hart, who was their big draft pick a few years back, who was Canada's hero in World Juniors and has not been doing very well in the pros. But since Philadelphia has a goalie problem, they don't really have any choice. And I could go on for days about Philadelphia's goalie crisis, but I think that's for another time. But I'm just interested to see what Philadelphia does, especially since last year they made the playoffs, and then this year they're just in complete shambles. And I don't think it's a lack of talent. I think it's a lack of organization from the top down. And the conflict between Paul Holmgren and everyone else. So stay tuned and we'll see. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. Also make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and also thank you to Mr. Kitty for the assist there, and have a wonderful evening.